then I cannot post it. Okay. So we're just waiting for it. Okay, the recording has started. Okay, so welcome to this class. I've seen a few questions coming through on the chat, and I think it's important that we just have a quick conversation about this. So the first thing that is important is that when you are looking for articles, that you need to make sure that the articles that you find, so the corpus and the end, so it's all the articles that you have, actually speak to your problem. You can't just go and say, okay, I've selected 40 articles and only two of them speak to what I'm doing. All of your 40 articles, all of your 30 articles need to address somehow or enlighten. Yes, need to enlighten you on your problem. So you need to make sure that all these articles that you are looking for, right, either show you that there's a gap or show you where the solutions might lie, show you all these different aspects. You can't just have 40 articles and then only reference two because only two of them have any bearing on what you are actually writing about. Right, that's quite important um, going into this assignment. So all the articles that you actually use in the end and that make up your 40, you need to reference and you need to cite. Okay. Um, let's just see. Accept. All right. So if we have then let me just see the question before we continue. Yes, you can access. So the problem with accessing and using Google Scholar, right? You can access the articles via Google Scholar, but you cannot search for them via Google Scholar. You've got a specific methodology that you have to use. You have to use a rapid review methodology. Now, if you go onto Google Scholar and you look for things, you're likely to end up with a million. And if you just go on the top 10 hits, it's fine, the 10 most relevant hits. But chances are almost 100%, if I do the same search, I'm going to get different articles. So it decreases the replicability. So if we look at qualitative research, which you are busy with, it's very important to make sure that people can trust the work that you give, right? So we look at trustworthiness. And one of the aspects within trustworthiness that we need to address is the ability to replicate, so the replicability. And when you use then Google Scholar, replicability is reduced. So you can, if you are struggling to find the article, you link your Google Scholar to UNISA library, like they showed and teach you all in Honors Week. The videos are also up on that, on the library. And then you should be able to get them easier on Google Scholar if you are struggling to get the articles. But to use it as your main search engine, then no. Right. I am going to share my screen. I'll just put you here to the one side. I can see if there's people joining. Okay, so when um okay, let's get on to this rapid literature review. Okay, so we were discussing the rapid literature review last about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, and looking at how I want to just okay edit to okay, and we had the introduction lesson on how to do it, why we are doing it. And unfortunately, so like I said, somebody did stop the recording. So I'm going to just quickly have a short overview and then we will continue to see how far we get in tonight's hour. Okay, so if we then look at the rapid literature review, you all did a course on the systematic literature review in the beginning of the year. The Cochrane one, the one where you struggle to type in the name and the child in the wrong spot and that type of thing. So you all did that type of sorry. Can I ask, does somebody want to just admit all students? Otherwise, this lesson's going to take very long. I'll say, are you going to help me? I don't know how to pronounce your surname. It's just L. Presenter. And then you can help me, please. Mokwebo. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So if we then have a look, okay, where were we? See, that's why you can't do both things at once. Okay, so Lapid Literature Review is just a shortened version of that which you have been doing already, okay? And the course that you did. So what we want to do, we want to make sure that okay, so if we just look at lesson number 6, it's called crystallization. So what we want to do, we want to take that which we observe in the problem, and we want to take that problem and transfer it to the academia, to academic literature, and get literature that supports this problem or solves this problem. So, in the method that we are doing, right, is to do a rapid literature review. So, there is a specific databases that we use to do this, and again, the library has also done training on that. The videos are on my YouTube, or I think, yeah, they are on the YouTube channel, or they're on the Graduate School of Business, or they are on the UNISA library, but they are all over the place. So you have to do a systematic approach. You have to record everything. But this is just because we are going to look at the timeline. So we are only going to use a certain time. So we're not just going to thumb suck it and say 5 years is relevant. We are going to look at the data that we get from that database, and then we are going to look at that graph, we render it, and then we see, okay, in this year we see a way a spike in the data, and then from that we can take that year. If there's no spike in the data, 10 years is good, but also then try to get a reference for that. Okay. I just want to go through so we can make sure. Okay. So when one of the important things when we are looking for data or information is to make sure that we use the right keywords. So there's different ways of searching. One of the ways of searching is to use the Boolean operators, which says I'm going to group two things together. Then we use an and, or I am going to look for two things that is either or I'm not looking for something. That's called Boolean operators, okay? Now, what we don't want to use is words when we search as the, because the almost everywhere is in, on, or off. So what we want to is we want to look at the nouns, the pure nouns. So that not the cat, computer, kids, for kid. We don't want to say beautiful kid. We don't want to say ginger cat. We can later maybe add ginger cat or if we get too much for cats. Okay. But the most focused thing, important thing to focus on is to make sure that we focus on the noun. Okay. So we also use the PICO framework, but we just adapted a little bit to qualitative research, given that it was developed for quantitative or more for not quantitative research, actually for um, medicine. So there is a kind of an intervention that happens. We don't always have intervention in social or social sciences or business. So we don't always have an intervention in there, but we can look at something that would kind of work, but it's not necessarily there. Okay, so if you look at keywords, you can see that some of them are not nouns, they are more verbs. So if you look at governance, it's more something that you are doing, but in itself, it does give you an idea of something, right? You could have rugby as a noun, but you can also have rugby as an action. So just check when you are looking for things. Yeah. All right. So there's the AI tool that you can use, right? Called Consensus. So Consensus is a tool that you use. I'm going to open it. Right in here, you can type any. It's like this one. You can type any type of research question, and it will give you results. So what Consensus does? Consensus looks at research that is open source. So just to get back a moment. So what is open source research versus others? So when we publish in academia, we can decide whether or not we want to pay a little bit more, and then the paper is no longer behind the firewall. A lot of the papers nowadays are, in any case, published in that way. So they're published open source, so you can get them. Consensus looks, and quite reliably looks, for papers outside that firewall of publication that will answer a question. So it actually looks for a consensus. So it wants to or you to ask a yes or no question. So it can say yes or no. But even if you don't ask it, it does help you. This is a very, very useful tool, even if you use it for work. Right? It is quite a nice tool to use to add some substance to the things that you are doing, to draw in some literature, to understand anything that you are working on a little bit better. It's just important. I never, with these AI tools, right? Make sure, guys, that you use different passwords for things so you don't run into a cyber security um, trap, especially for the ones that you're using for sensitive information like your banking. This is not so sensitive, or like your mayonnaise. I don't use the same passwords for these things, guys. Please, just uh, a warning or a cybersecurity while we are busy. Okay, so when this is a very nice tool to use. So I would not, and I totally do not use what's his name, ChatGPT for anything at this moment anymore, except for the apps like ProfCalc that we do create in it. I don't use it. Why? Because it's got a very high hallucination rate. Well, to me, the generative AI also does take over the way that you think. And it will kind of, so my son plays this game with ChatGPT where he tells him he needs to critique, well, he needs to play a game against him. Okay, so he mustn't let him win. they're going to, I don't know, try to take over the world, like an online AI monopoly, whatever the game is. But ChatGPT cannot play that game because it wants him to win, no matter how much it tells him not to do it. So what the problem is with generative or specific ChatGPT and the way that it was designed, it's designed to make you feel good. So it always give you a positive answer, which sometimes isn't a good thing to do. I do, if you want to go towards a generative AI and to use it, the better one is to use Claude. But at this point in your studies, you do not need to use Claude or any chat GPT type of generative AI. This is important. This consensus is not a generative AI. It gives you a summary of the evidence. But what is extremely important is that you need to go and make sure that if an article is cited, that it really says what this AI has summarized that it says. Right? So you need to go read the abstract, you need to go click on the DOI and make sure that you are going to find this article and that there is not some other hallucination in there. Okay. Okay. So when we started, so the last lesson, we spent a lot of time to figure out how to use the different databases. But I think it's important that tonight we just have a little discussion on grounded theory. Right. So what is grounded theory? Grounded theory is a type of research methodology or research approach where you go and first gather evidence and you ground your research in the evidence or the lived experiences of people, and you follow it with through up with a structured process of literature review. Okay. So we use a different tools in this module, and I do specifically let you use different AIs, none of which is really generative, so that you can learn the tools, number one, so you can add it to your CV. And two, that you can also see that there's more to AI than just prompting it to do the work for you. Sometimes, if you play around with things like Elicit, Research Rabbit, and Unriddle, it actually breaks a problem apart. And the opportunities, remember, what we want to do in the end is we want to crystallize and make sure that the problem that we are solving for, so that which we want to solve and create a small business out of, right, is actually a real problem that is solvable and that we can solve it. Right? Tomorrow we have a guest lecture coming through all the way from Brussels to speak to us on how do you do this type of problem creation. I'll tell you next week if there was any interesting and venture creation, because in the end, we are all trying to kind of better ourselves. And sometimes to better ourselves means we have to try and create our own thing. Right? And we can't use the AI just to create it. We need to work through the problem. So back to Elicit and Research Rabbit, Unriddle, and Consensus. These tools, and I stress there are tools like Excel was a tool that a lot of people used and still use probably in Word, that will help you to understand your problem, break it apart. Okay. So now you observe something that you think is a problem. The question is it really a problem, or has somebody else already solved that problem that you are seeing? Right? You did some market research in your process, but what does the literature say? Where does the root of this problem lie? And the only way you can do that is to start reading and to dig a little bit deeper. Okay. So Okay, so there is where you have it. To see. Okay. Don't want to go too far. Okay, so the first thing is you do your interviews and then you speak to Prof. Kelp. Okay. And then why do we link? I mean, it's important that you just understand this. Why do we link our problems with the SDGs and Agenda 2063? Okay. So we can create any business for the sake of creating business, right? And become exploitive and extractive. And in the end, that we end up where we are now in society. And we are sitting here in the country in the world with the highest Gini coefficient, meaning the gap between rich and poor in South Africa is the biggest of any country in the world. So your generation and probably a little bit of my generation and those in between, we need to kind of see if we can't close this gap so that we can leave a better world, make a difference, however you want to do that. So we're sitting here in Africa, so let's focus on Agenda 2063 that looks specifically at Africa as kind of the Africanization of the SDGs, right? So if we link what we are doing, and I believe if you feel that different about this, it's your choice. But specifically, I think if you can feel that your job makes a difference or that you can create something that can make a difference and a positive difference in other people's lives, then you are in a better place. And that's why you guys have to do what makes me feel better. No, just talking. But um, yeah. Okay, so what Elicit does, Elicit is a type of tool that will do a lot the same. It's when I designed this course last year, Elicit was a bit better at that time than consensus. But what Elicit does, it does help you clarify what consensus doesn't do, clarify your research question a little bit more. Let me just stop sharing my screen for a moment and sign in. Okay, so admitting people. Okay. So you can do a lot the same than you did. You can even see the interface looks very similar, but it does have an you see, it can help. You can, if you select the research agent, it can help you with the report, the systematic literature review, right? You can chat, find papers, extract data. Elicit is a nice tool to use if you don't really know what where your research problem lies. Um, let's look at something like Open Strategy. I just want to see the interface looks a bit different than Google. I made a spelling mistake. Okay, so it can give you some, it will pull papers, right? So it's a lot like you can also see the way that it's running. It runs very similar to that of what's his name, Claude. It has the same interface. So when we started out, I did let everyone. And when we start, it gives you different a summary. It gives you some ideas. The big problem with Elicit is it will show you the sources. It doesn't necessarily cite it in text. There is actually a way of using it. It does give you an idea. You can download these. You can look at this, but it gives you kind of a introduction into what you're doing. There is a way, actually, I want to show you that. I just need to remember how to do that. Mm, mm, the research report. See, um, just want to see. Oh, sorry. So this one I want to show you. Just the gate. So, no. Okay. Made the thing. Okay. Sure. Okay. So if you select report, right? What does it does have? So you have your own idea, right, already, what you are thinking about your problem. Then if you say specificity and context, it will change your question. So remember we had what is the relationship between negotiation styles and strategy? If I say how do different negotiation styles influence the negotiation strategies? Maybe that's what you want to do. It will also, you can also have the population and the measurable outcomes. This is a very powerful tool when it comes to research. Just watch this. Last year, we had a problem where students just took anything that they saw on the screen. Remember, you guys, we are doing research to confirm and crystallize our problem. Remember that you are business management students. You cannot go and solve heart diseases. Okay. So
Hmm.
make sure when you use this tool, you do still apply common sense. Okay. But this is why Elicit is one of the tools that I give to you to use, is specifically for this function. Not one of the other tools will enable and empower you to understand this and work a little bit through this. Okay. Okay. You've got some extra tasks. So then the other way of kind of crystallizing things is Research Rabbit. Now, Research Rabbit is also a free tool to use. Uh, mm, Let me just again log in. Yeah, just give me a moment. Cybersecurity. Never share while your screen while you're typing in passwords. So Research Rabbit is quite a nice tool to help you understand your research, but you kind of need to already be in control a little bit of what it is. So Elicit will help you kind of understand it a little bit better. your problem, but Research Rabbit will help you dig deeper. But watch out, and I'll show you now, you can kind of go down the wrong rabbit hole quite quickly. Um, it's a pro and a con, relating to this. If you just like, okay, so you can take, for example, digitalization is the necessary evil. Then you can go dive deeper. You can look for this 418 articles that are similar to this one. This article has been cited by 4 people, so or 7 people. So what this does, so I don't know if you've read in your reading heard about forward and backward searching. So this is forward searching. So this is where you see, okay, that article that I found very interesting, that's the core to my argument. Who cited that? And then you can go down and you can see what this article was. You can see that article was again cited by, look at my rabbit hole, me, cited by 5 people. And then that one was then only cited by one. We're in 2025. But you see how quickly we go down the rabbit hole. You can also then go back up your rabbit hole a little bit. Go to this article that we had. We just want to go back to it. And then we can say, okay, based on this article, if we want to go backward, who did they reference? And those are the 88 references in the article, see? Forward and backwards. You can then also go, if we see here, for example, Yin. Yin looks at case study research. So just from this, you can see it's case study. So what this does, it does, if you look at the similar articles to Yin, it gives you different articles related to it. It gives you, it probably have its case values and newer and older articles related. But this is a nice way of looking and finding related terms. Um, but that's why I say you need to kind of have your one big aha moment article and then say, okay, based on this article, forward, backward, what more can I find out? This is a very nice tool to find out more. And like you see, if you click on the article, it will give you the abstract, it will give you some additional information. Again, it works absolutely wonderful to help you understand something and dig a little bit deeper. Again, it's not going to do the work for you. And this is why I ask you to give me this brain chart out of this. And it's to help you make sure that you find that one article that sells everything and then see how it branches out, how it links together, how you can pull things together within it. Okay. Okay. Now, look, in reality, you don't have to use all of them. It's important that
Yeah.
just go and mute. Okay. Also now. Where did it go? Well, it's been rebranded. It's good that the AI tells me that. I need to update your website for next year. Let's see. Oh, cool. Okay, so what I will do, it's good that we went through this. I will take Unreal out because I haven't gone through it. I'm just going to send myself a WhatsApp for a moment. Um, so I will also make sure that I don't penalize you for it. Okay. I haven't gone through to the new one. So like I say, when we set this up, it was still last year. Okay, so step 6, you're going to take Unriddle out. So Unriddle worked similar, again, like Research Rabbit, but it hasn't been there. So now what you need to make sure of is that when you take consensus, and you take elicit with your research question and what you get, and you take what you got out of a research rabbit. That when you pull this together, that you can kind of start to crystallize, and this is why elicit helps a lot, your research problem. Because the center of everything is your research problem. Once you have your research problem, you can have your solve your purpose. So the remember the murder. The murder, the purpose is to solve the murder. You cannot have an investigation as the problem. Okay. And then if we look at the problem and the purpose statement, you can watch these videos. Okay, the main research question, you had a look at the elicit, and then the problem is you need to write 3 paragraphs. So what we do is we first say, this is what is known about something. Then we say, this is what is not known about something. And this is what people want us to know about something. And then you will complete the problem statement. But it's important to write the problem, and remember a problem is always something negative. You don't need to solve a positive thing. Okay. And then out of that problem, the purpose statement flows directly. Okay. Research objectives. Okay, research objectives are then the steps that you take. Remember, research objectives must be one objective. They must start with a verb. To design, to develop, to draw, to analyze, to whatever you want to do, right? And it must be one in one sentence. Now, I can't tell you, I have tried most of the generative AIs by kids. Yesterday I mentioned a few that I haven't tried yet, something about the banana, nano banana, but I think that's a video one. They cannot write a proper purpose statement or a research objective. They keep on putting too many aims and objectives and stuff. The same word, they just use it a little bit differently. So this is mostly where you guys do fall out. So make sure that you spend some little bit time, go speak to Prof. Cal. It needs to be one thing per objective. You can't have an and in, you can't have an or in one thing. Okay. Okay. Now, taking all of this together, we are now zooming in to understand what our problem is and making sure that we have a problem. You're writing a topic statement. Why are you doing all of this? Because this is what you need to apply to do a master's degree. Now, you cannot apply to do a master's degree and you cannot do any research in academia if you are not going to make a contribution to the body of knowledge. Now, how do you make a contribution of the body of knowledge? The only thing is to go to this Research Rabbit tool, works very nice, and look at articles where they say, I can't pronounce that name. That one is very old. Let's take this one, for example. Totally wrong one. But this 2026 article says in the recommendation for research, it's a good idea to do it. Okay? Or they call for it. That is the best way of getting yourself into a master's degree, making sure that your PhD is sound, that people won't have a problem with it. That nobody asks you the so what question. There's a taxonomy of research article by Miles where he actually divided. It's a PhD symposium, but he actually named the different types of research gaps, right? You can fill any of these gaps for a research, but in academia, and especially if you want to later do your master's, you would need to look at something like a knowledge or an empirical gap. A master's, a good idea for later on is to look at something that you can replicate. Okay, here's the articles. You can, and there were a few people that asked me to download these articles. And these ones you don't have to read, right? But I cannot download the articles for you. You need to go download the articles yourself. If you've set up your Google Scholar properly, you can just click on the DOI or you can just copy the name of the article into Google and it will get it to you. Unfortunately, I can't help with that at the moment. Or not at the moment. It's against the distribution policy of the publishers. Okay. And then that brings us to assignment 3. Okay. So we can stop here and see if you have questions for me. Okay. If you already used Onora, it's fine. Let me just first figure it out and see if it works the same. If it works the same, then it does what I wanted to do, then it's fine. If it doesn't, then it's also fine. Look, as long as you aren't using it any AI in a way that it's doing the writing on your behalf, okay? Okay. Assignment 2 results will be out quite soon. I was on leave, so marking is done. I now have to go to the forms and see who participated and who didn't participate. Okay. Let's see. Okay, where do we paste the notes, for instance? Okay. You can make a small appendix for it. You can put it in Notebook LLM if you want to keep it there. There's a group template already on Wyanisa, so you can put it in a lecture, keep it there so that you have something to work on. You can download those articles, put it into your notebook, you know. So, okay, Notebook LLM is also Gemini Notebook now. I tell you, it goes quite quickly. Okay. Notebook LLM is actually, if it's rebranded, hopefully it's not too difficult. Okay, I see. Mm, okay. Right. Let me just go back and share. So the problem, and I said this when we started off, the problem with Google Scholar is that you can't replicate it in the end. So you don't have to use any of the AIs. If you find sufficient articles to help you understand the problem and support it, doing Google Scholar, it's fine. The one thing you cannot use in Google Scholar is this one. Give me a moment. Labs. Now, Google Labs is quite an interesting tool, but it hallucinates something ridiculously. So Google Labs you can't use at the moment. Maybe it will become a little bit more reliable later on, but don't use Google Labs. Google Scholar, normal Google Scholar, yes. Google Labs, not so much. Okay. Um, okay, it still looks the same. So what is nice about a notebook LLM, if you create one, um, it's just I don't want to create a proper one now. You can upload all your sources in. So make sure the sources that is in your notebook, right, is a reliable source. So that's why I wouldn't put my notes necessarily in there. You would upload. So if we go, for example, let's take, let's get some parenting advice. And so you would see they've uploaded a few sources. I don't know how relevant or important or, which sources these are, but you have gotten now your 30 articles. You will upload them there. They are certified articles that you downloaded, so you know what's going on. Now, what is nice about Notebook LLM, or what do they call them now? Gemini Notebook. What is it? Yeah, Gemini Notebook. You can ask it to create a briefing document, you know, on dopamine. You can, well, that's what other people has already done. You know, so you can create different things from this. And it's a nice collaborative tool because I can upload things, Sam can upload things, Kagiso can upload things, and we can all work on these notebooks together. Um, and add things and create things and get the same information. So it's a very nice tool. Also, if you don't want AI to work outside of the documents that you upload. So ChatGPT, for example, really hold on a moment. Really struggles to keep to only your 30 articles. But if you then look, if you then use Notebook LLM, it can only, or Gemini Notebook, it can only use what you have uploaded. It won't go look for information outside. So you know everything that is in here, right, will be supported from literature. You just need to make sure that when you are sourcing it, what is the sources and that you can trust the sources. So you upload it and then also give you different, um, you can click on the studio and it will give you, you can create, okay, this one is already, I've got different things created. But it can give you, for example, look at how nice this is. It creates a nice little brain chart or a mind map, right? So it tells you these are concepts. So here's video games. So there's different type of video games. For example, I don't know which one my kids play, something like Minecraft, right? That's a type, is a sandbox game. Call of Duty, they are too young to play. So it gives you some examples of games. Gives you some statistics. Um, uh, how many play? Most kids, 79% families with consoles, 89%. 51%, I didn't even know that. Teens, it's nearly universal. Everybody plays games if they have them. So, it gives you some very nice tools. These tools are very nice to use again in work, in writing up things. Um, I really like Notebook LLM for PhDs and master students. Then you keep all your articles in. So, you create this little Dropbox. While you're searching, you put it in, and then you put it into Notebook LLM, and you can actually chat with it and understand your problem a little bit bigger. The problem is you can see it's good, for example, that, ach nee, dis wat I want. Um, what you've uploaded here, but you can see it just gives you the 3 and 13. So you would need to make sure that you know the number in which you uploaded them. And then I think the one thing it does limit you in the free version for like 30 articles that you can upload. But this is a very nice tool to use, especially when writing. So you could then go and break it up and say, okay, I'm writing on different sections in a literature review. So here's the big picture notebook. Then for this heading, I need 30 articles. For that heading, I need 30 articles, which is good later on. Then you kind of group your thoughts together. So this is an extremely nice tool for that, and you can interact and understand a little bit better and break it apart and create some interesting things. Should 12-year-olds have a phone? Anyway, interesting subtopic. Okay. Okay. Right. I want to kind of follow the questions. Where did we stop in? Okay. Okay, so you can mix and match your articles. You don't have to have one article there, all 30 from the different tools. Like I say, these are different tools that I expose you towards so that you can kind of use them, not use them to get these things. For this specific class, we would like to see what did you use and how did you use them. Okay. Um, Okay, so the assignment, you use your notebook LLM, you put it in, and then you can start discuss it, pull it apart, understand it. And those 30 articles that you upload there have to speak then to your problem in some sort, some way. How you got to the 30 articles is not the biggest thing, right? It's the fact that you have them, that they support your thing. It's important, and I'm stressing this, that you do not ask one of the generative AIs to develop these articles for you. They will lie. And the one thing that I want in all of your the reference lists are clickable DOIs, meaning that I can click on it and it will open the article, and that if I check your assignment, that if you say this article says cell phones all have are all bad for 12-year-olds, right? That article actually says it. It's very important. You can combine it. You have to combine it. There's group work. Which platform do we use for articles? So what I said, if we look at the open source articles, you can then go towards consensus, elicit, a research rabbit, forward and backward searching. Also go to Google, just not Google Labs. Okay, 30, 5 to 40 articles would be good. Okay. Right. I'm trying to answer the questions as I see them pop up. Okay, I think the most of you understand this. So assignment 2 would be out probably by the end of the week. We are just looking at the different whitings to see those who did not participate, so that we can just write them down. And then once we are done with that, we will then release the marks. Uh, the input collection, do we put it at the end of the assignment or at the beginning? I'm not sure about that question. Um, okay. No, you're not doing new interviews. Yes, 35 to 40 articles without rolling your eyes. So you would, all these different things that you are using the tools, please add them to an Excel. Okay. 35 minimum, 3, 5. Okay, I'm not gonna repeat myself. You can listen to the videos, and no new interviews. Okay. Um, like I said, you don't have to use all of them. I'm teaching you all of these so that you can. And even from when I set up this assignment to now, two of the ones already changed their names. So it is just to expose you to the different tools that is available. I would use Elicit to help me understand the research question properly. That's a very nice tool, kind of shortcut that we didn't have growing up and coming into research. But I would use that one at the beginning, then go to consensus. I rely heavily in myself on consensus nowadays. Those two I would go into. Research Rabbit's a nice tool if you're trying to get, if you don't have enough to go forward, backward, see how things relate to each other. It can also make a nice mind map to show you how your articles that you, or 30 that you have, are they actually even related to the same topic or not? Okay. Okay. Mm, okay. All right. So I think yeah. So what you want in your Gemini notebook is only the reliable, your own sources, not the chat that you have with the AIs, not the illicit stuff. Only the articles you want in your notebook, because you want there to create a mind map. You want to create all this information. So you don't want your search results, right? Kind of blurring it in the end. Right. All right, guys, let me just stop the recording myself before somebody else stops it.